I'm Keith Olbermann, and this is The Resistance. Our son of a bitch president has, in effect, called a newly widowed military wife a liar. The president said that he knew what he signed up for, but it hurts anyway, Maisha Johnson told ABC. And it made me cry because I was very angry at the tone of his voice and how he said it. He couldn't remember my husband's name. I had a very respectful conversation with the widow of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson and spoke his name from beginning without hesitation, Trump responded. Bullshit. Maisha Johnson has witnesses. Her aunt, her uncle, a master sergeant, the car driver, and a third-term Congresswoman, Frederica Wilson, with a master's degree in education, all listening on speakerphone. My uncle-in-law was Miss Wilson's elementary school principal, Maisha Johnson explained, and my husband was in her 5,000 role model program. That's why she's well connected with us. She's been in our family since we were little kids. That is Maisha Johnson's witness to Donald Trump's disgusting disrespect for this nation's flag, disrespect for its military, disrespect for its brave men whom he sent, rightly or wrongly, to their deaths. And worst of all, disrespect for their widows and their orphans and their parents. And who are Trump's witnesses? Professional liars. Based on what we know, John Kelly and Sarah Huckabee Sanders are professional, remorseless liars for Donald Trump, and they must both resign and leave the public stage permanently. They lie for a liar. Their lies contain other lies. They defend their own lies with further lies. They are liars, and they have no further credibility, no sense of civic responsibility, and no excuse for any involvement in the governance of a free nation. With this act, they have forfeited their souls in defense of propaganda and brainwashing and perverting freedom into militarization. They have forfeited their loyalty to this country and replaced it with loyalty to the demented leader of a crazed cult. They have forfeited their humanity in the service of filth, who has now tried to directly shift the blame he so richly deserves onto the crushed soul of a newly grieving military widow. They are indefensible. In short, they are Donald Trump's kind of people. A four-star general, one who approved of torture, lying about what a congresswoman said, thereby insulting the pain of the widow who turned to that congresswoman for support, to protect the lies of a president who had dismissed the widow's grief, followed by a press secretary, a sour and hateful individual who, when that general is caught, cornered having lied about his speech, doesn't address the truth, doesn't address the reality, doesn't address her own choice to sell her soul for an administration of pirates, chooses instead to undermine every precept of the first 240 years of American history by blurting out, if you want to get into a debate with a four-star Marine general, I think that that's something highly inappropriate. John Kelly is no longer a four-star Marine general. He is now a four-star liar. And even if his character was as spotless as George Washington's, and it's not, he lied in public as part of his job, which is lying for Trump. It is our duty in a free country to question the generals, because every time we have not, from William Westmoreland to Alexander Haig to Colin Powell to Michael Flynn, our country has been driven into a ditch by the generals. What is inappropriate is to slowly, incrementally, almost invisibly mesh the civilian government of the United States with men, deceitful, lying men like John Kelly, and then tell the free press of a free nation that they must defer to those generals, as if a uniform or a medal made them more likely to tell the truth rather than less likely. And to serve a president who now says, do not dare question the generals, but instead join me in suggesting that a war widow is a liar 2 days after her husband's funeral. When you tell the nation that to argue with a general, an ex-general no less, is inappropriate, you are invoking the language of autocracy and suppression and even military dictatorship. If getting into a debate with a general is highly inappropriate, Ms. Sanders, you had better tell the man for whom you speak that he is nothing but inappropriate. Trump attacked four-star General John Allen. Trump attacked four-star General Martin Dempsey. Trump attacked four-star General Colin Powell. During his campaign, Trump said he knew more about how to defeat ISIS than all the generals. And during his campaign, he suggested that once in office, he'd probably have all new generals. Inappropriate. Inappropriate is for this pig in the White House to dismiss a grieving widow, to lie about it, to attack the witness, to threaten the witness with so-called proof, to have to reveal the proof didn't exist, to call the widow a liar, to get a general with no remaining credibility to lie about the witness, to insist you were better for the widows than your predecessors when it turned out you hadn't even contacted most of the widows, to reportedly rush deliver condolence letters to all the widows you had previously ignored, and to have your press secretary insist that in a democracy it's inappropriate to question whether the general with no further credibility is lying when his lie was obvious and stupid and careless and easily disproved. All of that is inappropriate, and it will not be tolerated in this country. And lurking behind all these terrible truths is another one just as dark, just as sharp, and perhaps worse. Why was there such a delay in getting to the men on the ground at the ambush in Niger, the men like Sergeant LaDavid Johnson? Why were they in unarmored vehicles? Why did it take 2 days even to find the body of LaDavid Johnson? Why was there such a delay in publicly acknowledging their deaths? Why, nearly 3 weeks later, do we yet have only the sketchiest picture of what happened at this ambush? Why was his widow denied any explanation of his death? Why was she, as she said, denied the chance to see his body, or as she also said, even to see his finger or his hand, so she could be certain it was really him? Why is the FBI investigating a military disaster 5,000 miles away from here? Why are men, swine, like John Kelly and Donald Trump so eager to lie and insult and attack our right to question authority, to question four-star generals, to question lying four-star generals? Why is the public discourse focused on a congresswoman who was invited to listen to this conversation by LaDavid Johnson's widow instead of being focused on why LaDavid Johnson died? Why are the professional team of liars for Trump, people like John Kelly and Sarah Huckabee Sanders, covering up all of that? Is it because Kelly and Huckabee Sanders and Trump are also lying about Niger? Or in a free country that is not a military dictatorship, not yet, do we also not have the right to get into a debate about that with a lying presidential mouthpiece and a lying ex-four-star general and a goddamned lying president? Resist. Remove. Peace. My book, based on the first 130 of these commentaries, is now available in stores and online, and I appreciate your consideration.